What's going on, YouTube? This is Boxing Wave. Welcome back. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. All right, hit that bell notification so you can be notified anytime I drop new content. Also, like the video. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BoxingWave10. All right, you guys see the title. I wanted to do a video like this for a little while. I've done these videos in the past where I kind of just talked about what fights that I want to see, top 10 fights I want to see. These are all very realistic fights. Some of them are scheduled. I'm going to do a top 10, starting from 10, going down to 1. And I'm also going to give you several fights that's not on the top 10 list, but fights that I really, really want to see still. All right. Shout out to everyone that's already joined the chat. Halden Gore, Eddie Morales, Will Dirt, Kano Loco. What's up, bro? Noah George, High Tech. What's up, everyone that's here? Make sure you definitely like the video on your way in. All right, so there's a lot of fights that I got here. Some of them I went over, had to re-scramble them around a little bit, but this is basically my top 10 fights that I want to see, okay? So it's totally biased towards me and who I like. This is not like a top 10 fights that I think should happen, okay? This is a top 10, the fights that I want to see the most, okay? So we're going to start with 10. I would probably say that some of them are division bias. Like I like specific divisions more than other divisions. So you're going to see several fights. You're going to hear me bring up several fighters from different divisions that, I just pretty much want to see, that I love. I love certain divisions. Like I love the heavyweight division. Everybody knows I love that division. So that's going to have a few fights in there. All right. But, yeah, let's get into it, yo. Let's get into it. All right, so number 10. I have Better BF against Bivol. Dimitri Bivol at 175. Both of these guys are still undefeated. They're both champions. They both have good resumes. Better BF is definitely the more accomplished fighter. But Bivol is a good champ. He has good names on his resume. Highly skilled, talented boxers, both different styles. I really, really want to see this fight. I know Joe Smith Jr. recently won, and I do want to see Joe Smith Jr. fight Better BF. Definitely want to see that fight. But the Bivol fight is something that I've been wanting to see even before Better BF beat Volsdick, even before he was unified champion. I want to really see that fight. Now, Better BF struggled a little bit in his first comeback fight. We know that he was out. He had COVID. He had injuries. There was fights that were rescheduled because of the pandemic and because, boxing just wasn't active for a little bit. So Better BF was out for a while, all right? But, he didn't look that great on his first fight back. But I also think it could be for a few reasons, It could be because of the level of opposition that he was facing. If you've been out for a long time, you kind of want to get rounds in, especially to a fighter that people are not expecting you to lose to. And plus he was rusty. Right. So we keeping it all the way real. Absolutely. Yeah. Better BF versus Bivol. Great fight. Definitely want to see it. And yeah, it is what it is. Let's go on to number 9. And Bivol should be fighting soon. He's coming back and fighting soon. In a few weeks, actually. He should be on the, I forgot what undercard he's in, but he's going to be available soon. So hopefully we can get that fight or the Joe Smith Jr. fight. Either way is cool. I'm fine with either or. But we're probably going to get the Joe Smith Jr. unification first because they're both top ranked. They're both on ESPN. So that fight will probably be a lot easier to make. And then we'll probably get the Bivol fight after. All right. Shout out to everyone that's coming in the room. All right. So number nine, I have Estrada against Gonzalez. 3, winner against Ioka. So basically what I'm saying, whoever wins this third fight, I want to fight Ioka. You know, Ioka already beat Kosai Tanaka. Estrada, Gonzalez, very controversial ending because of that one scorecard. A lot of people feel that Roman Gonzalez won the fight. I know I did. Some people think that Estrada won. Some people think that it was a draw. Regardless, after they have this third fight, which we're pretty much believe, we pretty much know that they're going to have, I want to see them fight Kazuto Ioka. All right. So that is my number 9. All right. So the winner of that fight, no matter who it is, and I know we still have Sor Visai still out there. He is a mandatory. He fought both of these guys already. He has wins over both of these guys. So, yeah, I definitely wanted him to get that shot too. But I want to see a fight that we haven't seen between Estrada and Ioka or Gonzalez against Ioka. I want to see one of those two fight Ioka next. All right. All right. So let's move on down the list. All right. Next fight up. This is a fight that could happen. It's not on the way or anything like that. And it took me a while to figure out. This is a 135 fight. I was trying to figure out what fight that I want to see at 135 the most, even though we can argue that one of these fighters is not a true 135 pounder lightweight fighter. I want to see Teofimo Lopez against Tank Davis. All right. Now, how I came up with these two. There's a lot of fights in the division I want to see. All right. I want to see Teo fight Haney, Ryan Garcia, even a Lomachenko rematch. There's a lot of fights, a lot of big names down there now that I want to see. A lot of fights that we could mix up here. Tank Davis, not only do I want to see him fight these guys at 135, but I also want to see him fight the best guys at 130 as well. The reason why I picked these two is because I still need to see a little bit more with Ryan and Devin Haney. I'm not really convinced by neither one of them yet that they're on Teofimo Lopez's level. Lopez has fought about a good 3 or 4 guys already that's at the level or better than the best fighters that Haney or Ryan Garcia has fought. All right, Lopez been in there with Nakatani. He's been in there with Kome. He's been in there with Lomachenko. All right, and he's about to get in there with George Kambosos, who's also undefeated. All right, so I can't. Luke Campbell win was good. Just like, Haney. Well, Haney really doesn't have a win that's even on that level. But I do like the Jorge Linares fight that's coming up. That's a very good fight. But I'm still waiting to see what these guys can really do. And this is why I couldn't put them as a desired fight. These are desired fights. And I want to see these fights, but not on a level as Tank. At least Tank got 2 notable wins. One against Leo Santa Cruz. And I know Leo was a guy that recently moved up. And one against, what's his name? Jose. I'm bugging. I can't think of his name right now. Pedraza. I like the Pedraza win. That was a big win for me at that time. And Pedraza has gone and moved up to 140 at this point. But Tank has notable wins. I don't like a lot of the other wins that he has, but I still want to really see that fight. I think he's still a little bit more proven than Ryan and Devin Haney at this point. All right. So it was really hard to do it. Like, even with Lomachenko, there's still other fights that I want to see with him too. I want to see Lomachenko against the Haneys and the Ryan Garcias of the world, or even Teofimo Lopez rematch, or even a Tank Davis. I still want to see Lomachenko fight Tank Davis. But right now, Teofimo is that guy. He's undefeated. And Tank, he's that guy at 130. So I picked that one. That's my number 8th pick. All right. So let's move forward. The next one I have was another one that was a little bit difficult to choose because there's certain fights with this fighter that I want to see. But right now at 168, I want to see Canelo against Benavidez. All right. That's not number 7. We're at number 7. If you're just joining us, hit that like button. Number 7 is is Canelo Alvarez against Benavidez. I want to see the Billy Joe Saunders fight. You know, and I want to see some of the other fights of the guys at 160. I want to see Jamal Charlo. I want to see Demetrius Andrade. But Benavidez is a guy that stylistically, I can see him giving Canelo problems, especially if Canelo can't hurt him because of his pressure. You know, he has fast hands himself. He has power, and he's just a fun fight to watch. And he's a big guy. I can see him possibly giving Canelo some issues. I still think Canelo beats all of these guys, but I would love to see the Benavidez fight. I would love to see that fight. I like that fight a little bit more, like barely more than the Saunders fight. The Saunders fight is a fight that I always wanted. I wanted that fight down at 160. Okay, I've always wanted that fight. But I want Benavidez more because just right now at 168, being that Benavidez has been at 168. Saunders, I haven't been as impressed since he moved up from 160. I just thought at 160 was a little faster, just a little sharper at 160. I haven't been that impressed at 168, but we'll see how he looks against Canelo. Shout out to everyone that's here. Water get no enemy. Eliza, EK, Wilder. Who else we got in here? Fresh BX, what's up? Londoner. Who else we got in here? Jermaine Bean, what's up, bro? Everyone that is in the room. David Miranda. All right. So that was number 6. So right now, number 10 was Better BF against Bevo. Number 9 was Estrada versus Gonzalez 3. I want the winner of that to fight Ioka. All right. So that's not number 8. My number 9. My number 9 is not Estrada versus Gonzalez 3, but the winner of that fight against Ioka. All right. Whoever it is, whether it's Estrada or Gonzalez. Number 8 is Teofimo Lopez against Tate Davis. Number 7 is Canelo Alvarez against Benavidez. And number 6. This is the little shocker because these two guys are young. But I want to see this fight now because there have been 2 of the biggest, most talked about prospects. And that's Jaron Boots Ennis against Virgil Ortiz. I want to see that fight now. I don't think either fighter has reached their peak yet, but they're proving a lot more than like the Haneys and the Ryan Garcias in the world. They're all around the same age, but these guys both have done a lot more to me as prospects, as up-and-coming contenders, top contenders now. I want to see Boots Ennis against Virgil Ortiz. We've been comparing the 2 of them for a couple of years now, and I know there's a lot. You know, I gave you a video the other day where I was giving you a long list, of prospects that I want to see fight. But Boots Ennis against Virgil Ortiz is a fight that I already want to see bad. You know, I want to see this fight bad. In fact, I will go as far as saying that today already I would probably pay to see this fight. I want to see that fight because they're both young, they're both sharp, they're both really good, and I don't see a huge gap between either one of them. Whoever you think is going to win between the 2 of those guys, I want them. I would love to see them fight right now. I love that fight. All right. So Boots Ennis against Virgil Ortiz is my number 6 spot. Number 5, Josh Taylor against Jose Ramirez, which is scheduled is coming up in May. I can't wait to see the fight. This is a top level fight right here. Two guys at 140 that really literally beat everybody at 140. They're both undefeated still. They both have crazy resumes. There's only one job left. They only have one job, and it's to fight each other, and that's it. They're both unified. Josh Taylor won the World Boxing Super Series. There's nothing left to be done for these two to fight each other and move up to 147. I said the other day, as much as I love Terrence Crawford, I love Bud, but unfortunately, at the time that he was at 140, I wish he ran through it when these guys were there, because it was so much competition at 140 after he took the throne. After he gave the belts up, it just became really, really good. I mean, in the past 3 or 4 years, this division has been one of the best division, if not the best division in this sport. I mean, literally everybody for everybody. Some of the older guys got in there, like a Victor Postal. He got in there with Josh Taylor. He got in there with Jose Ramirez. You know, we seen Regis Prograis, you know, go to the top of the tournament and fight Josh Taylor at the end. We see Jose Ramirez beat Maurice Hooker, who was undefeated fighters. You know, he's been into a Zepeda fight, was a very good fight. You know, even a Amir Imam fight, good fight. That gotta be, that's number 5 for me. But I hear a lot of people say that that's their number 1 desired fight. You know, it got to be at least in everybody's top 5 at this point. You know, shout out to everyone that's coming in, man. Make sure you hit that like button. Hit that subscribe if you haven't already. All right. I know you guys are leaving a lot of comments, but we're trying to get through this list right now. All right. You guys could battle it out in the comment section. That's all good. All right. So let's go on. What's up, Leo? What's going on? So let's go right to it. Now, this number 4. It's a fight that's not happening. It's not happening. All right, it's done. But it's still a fight that can happen. It can happen at some point in the future. This is the fight that we went years on YouTube battling it out. People hate each other because of these two. I want to see before I even say it, I'm reading the comments. What is this fight that I'm talking about? It's not a fight that's happening, but this is the fight that YouTubers have been battling it out for years. What is that fight? Let me see someone. Give me a couple of guesses in the comments. This is number 4. It's not a fight that's happening. It's not Spence and Crawford. It's not that. It's the other fight that people have been at odds against. It's not Spence versus Crawford. That one is 2. Wilder versus AJ. Got it. Deontay Wilder against Anthony Joshua. That's my number 4. Most desired fights. It would be number 1. It was my number 1 for years, but it lost some steam. You know, it lost some steam because I don't know what Wilder has. Joshua was able to avenge his loss, come back, look good. Wilder, still waiting to see what he can do. You know, I'm still waiting to see what's going to happen. You know, losing a Fury, being inactive, but AJ against Wilder, that's the fight. At one point, that was my number 1 fight. In fact, I still at one point wanted it even more than Joshua and Fury. All right. But that's my number 4. And I think it still could happen. It really depends on Wilder. It really depends on the outcome of the Fury and Joshua fight. That's still a big fight. I hope that fight still happens, man. I don't really care. I know. Oh, excuse me. I know I know a lot of people don't really care because Joshua lost to Ruiz at one point, and Wilder lost to Fury. I still want to see the fight. I still want to see it. I still really want to see that fight. I'll forever want to see that fight. You know, even with like guys like Luis Ortiz, who's older, Povetkin, who's older, just lost to Dillian White. I still want to see that fight. I want to see Ortiz versus Povetkin. I still want to see it. There are fights that I'm gonna forever want to see. You know, just like Cotto fighting Marquez. He's coming back. These guys are coming out of retirement. I really wanted to see that fight back then. You know, so Wilder lost a fight. If he is going to come back, if he's still interested in the game, in the sport, hopefully he is. That's a fight that can still happen, you know. I want to see him against Andy Ruiz. You know, I still want to see some of the other fights, you know. But that is my number 4, right? Shout out to everyone that's just joining in, man. Shout out to everyone that just guessed it right. Shout out to my brother, Mr. Boxing Today. What's up, man? The heavyweight king on this YouTube thing. You know, Undisputed at heavyweight has been on most decided. All right, we'll finish the list. I don't want to talk too much. Let's get on to it. So that's number 4. So let's go through a rundown before we get to the top 3. All right, hit that like button if you haven't already. Let's run through it. Number 10, Beterbiev versus Bivol. Number 9, the winner of Estrada and Gonzalez 3 fights Ioka. Number 8, Teofimo Lopez against Tank Davis. Number 7, Canelo Alvarez against Benavidez. Number 6, Boots versus Ortiz. 5, Taylor versus Ramirez. And number 4, Joshua versus Wilder. Still want to see that. Still want to see that. Shout out to Lawrence RBE. I definitely watched the battle. I watched the battle. I actually talked about it on live. Dudes was coming in the live the other day when they battled and asked me if I was joining. I did pay for the pay-per-view. I love what you guys are doing over there on the RBE. You know, you guys are doing a good job. The battle was very, very entertaining, and that was the best Cassidy performance so far since his comeback. So let's get to number 3. This one is for me. Number 3 is for me. This is for me. This is probably on nobody else's list, but this is a fight that I've been wanting to see since 2013. Since 2013, when I started this channel, Demetrius Andrade against Jamal Charlo. Now, if you've been here, you would know how many videos have I been making about Andrade fighting one of the Charlo twins. I even wanted to see what's his face? The other fighter from 168. Jesus, I can't think of him now. You know what? Who cares? It'll come back around. Demetrius Andrade against Jamal Charlo is a fight that I always wanted to see because it's always been bad blood. Andrade showing up at press conferences. They doing interviews disrespecting each other. They both were at 154, champions at 154. They went to 160, both champions at 160, and they still haven't fought each other. My man, like boxingologists, Mr. Boxing Today. Y'all know we've been here for years. How long have we been talking about this fight? We got to get this fight. Come on, like just think of the trailer for that fight, of all the shit talking between those two. Just think about it. And hopefully by that time, they still both under Daniel Jacobs, who I was thinking of before. The Daniel Jacobs fight with Jamal Charlo, I want to see too. Definitely want to see that fight. But this fight here is a long time. It's a long time coming. Like they over-marinated it. So I think since they're still undefeated, they're both champions in the same division. What's the excuse not to have the fight? Make the fight happen. You know, I know that both of them want Canelo. They want Triple G. They want these fights with these big names, but I feel like them pushing to get those fights is holding everybody up. You know? We got to get those fights. We got to get them going. It's been years, man, years. It's been years. I've been on YouTube since 2013, and I've been talking about that fight. You know? So, listen. And yeah, shout out to Boxingologist, old school YouTube boxing channel. You know if Andrade beats one brother, he almost guaranteed a fight with the other brother right after. Listen, man, whoever wins that fight is going to be buzzing, man. That'll be a good win. That'll be a really good win, man. All right? And at that time back then, I didn't care which Charlo Andrade fought. I didn't care which one. I just wanted to see one of them fight Andrade. I wanted to see Lara fight Andrade. There was some bad blood too, because Lara beat Andrade in the amateurs, but Lara was a lot older. Shout out to my brother Kano Local Sports. Thank you for the donation, man. Someone's gotta go. That's right. All right. All right. Number 2. Y'all know what the last 2 are at this point. Y'all should know. Y'all know my channel. Everybody's here is always here. Everybody that's here, shout out to RC. Shout out to everyone that's here. Ali, Chain with Ice, everyone that's here. You guys are all, I recognize all you guys. Y'all know what my last 2 are. Y'all know what my last 2 are. Number 2. It hasn't been as long, but this is the second most. This is the fight that got everybody hating each other on YouTube. People hate each other on YouTube. Channels disrespecting each other because of this fight. We already know what it is. We already know what it is. Terrence Crawford against Errol Spence Jr. This is my number 2. This is my number 2. These numbers, the top 5 were really, really tough for me. The top 5 were really tough, but this is my number 2, man. Come on, man. I mean, even when Bud was still when he's still at 140, we started having those conversations. And then it was no bad blood at that time. There was no bad blood. It was all respect. It was all respect between the channels, because everybody was loving Spence and what he was doing, and everybody was loving Bud and what he was doing at 140. But once Bud moved up, collected a title, everything just changed. It became about the promoters, Bob Arum, you know. It became about what you do at 147. You know, it became about everything else. It became about everything else but the fight. It became about purses, percentages, what platform the fight is going to be on. These guys, bro, that back and forth they had with each other face to face was probably the most entertaining thing that I've seen when it comes to boxing outside of being in the ring. That back and forth, you know how many times that I watched it because I was so hyped from watching it? I mean, the talk was already starting. The buzz was already there. People were already going at each other. But once that happened, and then the follow-up ones, when Spence was like, yo, you're on the wrong side of the street, even though I don't agree with it, I don't like it, it was pumping the fight. It was making it hot. But I want to say within the last year, you know, after the pandemic, things just kind of went down. It just kind of went down. And as much as I still personally desire it and I still really want it, it got too diva-ish for me from both ends. The way they took the social media, it just started getting annoying. The percentages, it got too much. And I feel like they over marinated it. Like it's still a fight that we want, but from the two fighters itself, I'm just like, yo, man, like y'all got to do whatever y'all got to do to make it work. You know, that's how I feel. And now I'm at a point that I'm really afraid that the fight will never happen. You know, I'm worried about that. I'm worried about that. I'm worried about that, you know, so I hope the fight still goes down. I really, really do, but that's my number 2. All right, so let's get to the number 1, which is the most obvious one at this point. Fury versus Joshua, man. Undisputed heavyweight champion. You know, we all know what it was. You know, we knew what it was before I made this video. As soon as you guys saw the title, you knew what was up. Fury versus Joshua is history. Like a real undisputed heavyweight champion. All 4 titles. We've been waiting for this for years. It's been years. This reminds me of the heavyweights that I grew up on, you know, that I was watching in the 90s. These guys got good wins. Fury dethroned Klitschko. Whether you like the fight or not, he's the one that got the job done. All right. Joshua, he's on the come up. Great prospect. Fought his amateur rival in Dillian White. Picked up titles, started unifying after Klitschko retired. Hype with Joshua was going down. Fury was out of the picture. Fight never happened. Fury comes back, beats Wilder, had a draw with him, beats him. And now they're the only 2 left, you know. Joshua had his little fall, but he was able to rebound. There's nothing left to do. There's nothing left that needs to get done at this point. This is the only fight that matters. If we're going to get one last heavyweight fight, if we're going to get one last boxing match, if boxing ends with one last fight, this is the fight that I want to see. If this is going to be the last boxing match ever, this is the fight that I want to see. This will be a good, you know, solid way to say, you know what? All right, I'm done with this sport. You know, goodbye boxing. You know, shout out to everyone that's leaving comments. Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already. You guys are going crazy in the comment section, man. Shout out to my man Dion White for the donation. It ain't over marinated because if Spence gets the 3rd belt, the fight for undisputed will be crazy. Crawford a fought after October, so no more excuses. Oh, free agent, my fault. Is not over marinated. I get what you're saying, but that's only if the fight happens. It's only if the fight happens. Me personally, I don't like them talking about purses publicly. I don't like them going to Twitter. I don't like them saying in interviews, taking percentages. You guys, let's be businessmen, meet up, sort it out, work it out. All right. Spence, one thing about Spence is Spence always said that he wants to pick up the titles on his end first. All right. It always made sense to me. It's just that other things that was being said in between the time about people not being interested in the fight, it made it where now I'm not sure if this fight is really, really, really going to happen. Sorry for the ambulances in the background. That made things like I'm not sure if it's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully it happens. And that's it. You know, I mean, it's really nothing else to really say. Now, as far as this heavyweight fight between Fury and Joshua, they're probably going to have 2 fights depending on how the fight goes. If someone ends up getting blown out and just getting destroyed, I doubt we get a rematch there. But we need history, man. It's been a really long time since we had an undisputed. The last heavyweight king was Klitschko. The last one before him was Lennox Lewis. Okay. And we just want that. You know, these guys, I really appreciate, you know, with all the drama that's going on with the heavyweight division between Wilder, Fury, even Anthony Joshua, all of the drama that we've had over the years, I really tip my hat off to the 3 of them because they really, in a way, brought the heavyweight division back, and they brought a lot of fans to the sport. They really did. You really have to give credit to all the for all 3. You know, no matter what you feel about each one of them, all 3 of them has played a part in bringing fans to the sport. You know, with even with all the drama, it gets annoying, you know, but Wilder brought in his style, his excitement by knocking people out, so many guys out in a row. Whether you thought they were good or not, it still brought people to the sport. You know, when I created this channel, I made a video about Deontay Wilder very, very early. And I was talking about how he was giving me that Mike Tyson feel. And I was just pretty much saying like, yo, I just want to see him to get in there with better fighters. And it took years, but he did eventually get into the ring with fighters that I thought were a threat to him. Anthony Joshua moved a lot more quickly. You know, he was an Olympic gold medalist. He came in, he started fighting higher level fighters very, very early in his career. And he, to me, out of the 3, was the most consistent as far as fight by fight, fighting the higher level guys. Then you had Tyson Fury, who didn't fight the best guys consistently, but he did take down 2 titans in the heavyweight division, in Wilder and Klitschko. He had his fall, you know, that he did retire. He was going through some, mental illnesses, and he disappeared for a bit, but he was able to come back and beat one of the champions while he was undefeated. So much respect to the 3 of them. You know, they all 3 of them did something, and they accomplished a lot in this sport. So I just want to see closure in all this, because now there's a lot of young new heavyweights on the come up now that are going to be the next thing, just like the welterweight division. I feel the same thing about Spence and Crawford and Pacquiao and Porter and Thurman. Yo, the remaining time that you're still here, just give us the fights that we want between each other, and then let these other guys take over. But for now, do what you got to do. Get these fights going. So whatever fights we didn't get, give them to us now. All right. And I feel the same way with the heavyweight division. Hopefully we get Fury and Joshua. Should be getting announced soon based on what we've been hearing. And that's that. All right. So that's my top 10. I'm going to get into some more fights that I want to see that just didn't make the top 10, but I really want to see some of these fights too. If you are just checking in, I'm going to give you one last time. I'm going to go through the rundown real quick. Number 10, Better Be It versus Bivol. Number 9, Estrada versus Gonzalez, 3 winner against Ioka. Number 8, Teofimo Lopez against Tank Davis. Number 7, Canelo versus Benavidez. Number 6, Boots versus Ortiz. Number 5, Taylor against Ramirez. 4, Joshua against Wilder. 3, Andrade versus Charlo. 2, Crawford against Spence. And 1, Fury against Joshua. That's my top 10 most desired fights. And for the hoodie, follow me on my Instagram. I'll put a post up on the hoodie and the plug for the hoodie. All right. So got you on that. All right. So these are some other fights that didn't make the list, but I really want to see. All right. Jamel Charlo against Brian Castano should be scheduled soon. Should be getting something on that. It didn't make the list because as badly as I want to see it, and as much as I want to see Undisputed, it's an undisputed thing for me. There are more fights that I want to see between Jermell Charlo and other fighters in the division. I like Brian Castano, but he's not my number one desired fight at 154. All right. I think he's a threat that for Jermell for sure. But it wasn't enough for me to be a top 10 for me. It's an undisputed match, but it's not a Taylor versus Ramirez match, a fight that I really wanted to see, that I feel like these two guys beat everybody. There's so much buildup with that fight. They beat every good fighter at 140. Whereas Jermell Charlo, Brian Castano, it's cool. I want to see it, but not in a top 10 level, all right? Shakur Stevenson against Oscar Valdez. Now, I know Shakur Stevenson hasn't improved much at 130 yet, okay? He is a mandatory for the WBO title. He was a champion at 126 with the WBO title. But I already want to see that fight. I want to see that fight because I think they're currently, if you're not including Tank Davis, I think these two are the best two fighters at 130, okay? Oscar Valdez is coming off of that amazing win against Miguel Burchell. Potential knockout of the year candidate as well. And he was an extreme underdog in that fight. I mean, most people, almost everyone got Burchell winning that fight. All right. Shakur Stevenson is a great young contender. And I think he's a very, very highly skilled fighter. For me, he's one of my favorite fighters to watch. I would love to see that fight. You know, that would be a good test for both, in my opinion. So that's a great fight there. Another fight that didn't make the list, but I still really, really want to see is Inoue against Casemiro. All right. Two knockout artists. I think Inoue is definitely more the better talent between the two by far. Definitely the better talent. But Casemiro has that one punch knockout power. And I feel like someone's going to get knocked out. Whoever gets hit clean is getting knocked out. And that's why I want to see that fight, you know. And it's a lot of chitter-chat between the two of them. Too. Casemiro been doing some talking. So I definitely want to see that fight. Another fight, and I know I've been talking about Wilder a lot in this video, but Wilder against Dillian White didn't make the top 10, but you got to believe that is a very big fight to me, and it's a big fight in general. That's a big fight because of all the drama with the WBC. Dillian White has been the number one guy with the WBC for years, and he never got his shot to fight against Deontay Wilder. His only, he just never got his shot, and I want him to get his shot, and I think he's very deserving of a shot. He has a great resume. Yes, he's lost fights, but he rebounded from his Povetkin loss recently. And I still want to see that fight, man. There's been a lot of bad blood. It's just as bad as Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. There's a lot of bad blood there, a lot of buildup there. And I want to see that fight. I want to see that fight. Again, when it comes to Wilder, I always thought that Wilder would beat Dillian White. Always thought Wilder would beat Dillian White, as opposed to Joshua and Wilder, where I was always been at pretty much back and forth. But this fight here, I got to see how Wilder looks when he returns. He's been out for a while, and I want to make sure he's the same guy. So right now, I would give White the advantage. And two, I'll see what Wilder can do on his bounce back, on his comeback. He has to prove that he's still sharp and on point. All right. So Wilder against Wright. Another fight that I might want to see, depending on his next performance. I want to see Andy Ruiz against Anthony Joshua 3. If Andy Ruiz is looking, if he looks as good in the ring in his next fight as he's looking right now in these gym videos that they've been doing, And these photos, if he could come and actually show up in the weigh-in looking like how he looks right now, he's with Eddie Reynoso. I want to see if he's going to have quicker feet. Maybe I think he's going to be working with Eddie Reynoso, working with Canelo. All these videos is making me feel like he might be the best Andy Ruiz we ever going to see. If he comes back, and I know his fight with Chris Arreola is not going to prove that much, because I still think Andy Ruiz, even on his worst day, will probably beat Chris Arreola at this stage of his career. But if we notice key differences in Ruiz when he faced Chris Arreola, like in a better way, if he's better than the Ruiz that fought Joshua in the first fight, if he's better than the Ruiz that fought Joseph Parker, I want to see him fight Anthony Joshua for a third time. Absolutely. You know, but there's other fights I want to see, and I'm sure that would need to happen first. Obviously, Joshua and Fury, Wilder, depending on what happens with him. That could be a big pay-per-view between Ruiz and Wilder. But if Ruiz is dramatically better, he could be a problem for anyone. All right? That's if he's better. All right, so next, Saunders versus Canelo. Not a top 10 fight, but still a very highly desired fight. A fight that I wanted to see since they both was at 160. I've been wanting to see this fight because I just love the styles. And I like Saunders. He's a southpaw. He's very fast. He's a very crafty, sharp counterpuncher. I think he's going to be at his best for this fight. I think Saunders have looked pretty shitty in certain fights because I think he fights on the level of his opponents. So I'm looking really forward to this fight. I don't want to see it as much as Canelo against Benavidez, but it's pretty neck and neck. I'll tell you this, though. I definitely want to see Saunders and Benavidez fight Canelo more than I want to see Caleb Plant. That's just me. This whole video is about me and what I want and what I desire to see. Canelo versus Saunders, not top 10, but it's definitely a fight that I really, really want to see, and I'm looking forward to seeing that fight. I can't wait. Another fight that might be next, depending on who Crawford is going to fight, Sean Porter. I want to see Crawford fight Sean Porter because for the people that criticize Crawford for not fighting any real top welterweights that are in their prime or whatever, if Porter and Crawford fight and Crawford is able to beat Sean Porter, no one can say anything about it. Porter always comes to fight. He has debatable losses. He's very active. All right. And he takes care of himself. There's never a bad day for Porter. Porter is he's coming the same way. He's consistent. You're going to get him every single time. You're going to get the same fighter. He's going to always be at his best. Even if he looks bad against a Ugas or Julio Diaz back in the day, he always come in as his best, no matter what. So I want to see the Porter versus Crawford fight. Not a top 10, but just outside of it. He's just outside of it. And my last one that I have on this list here is Devin Haney against King Ryan Garcia. Devin Haney against Ryan Garcia. I know I put Teofimo Lopez and Tank Davis on my top 10 because I didn't want to put these two because I wanted to see more what they can do. But because these two are very familiar with each other, we know how bad Haney wants to fight. They're the same age. They're not at that peak. Just like Boots and Ortiz. But neither one has really accomplished that much more. I give King Rye the credit because he did take on Luke Campbell or stopped him. So both, whatever, if you want to say Haney's best opponent was either Gamboa or Santiago, Luke Campbell to me is better than the two of those guys at this stage. I want to see this fight. I wish we had it. It's a fight that we could really get, but they're building these two up, and they're not going to put neither one of these guys in the ring with each other until it's like a pay-per-view level type of fight. I think by that time, maybe one of them won't be even. One of them will probably take a loss by that time, depending on how good they are. But I can't see them fighting each other anytime soon. As much as we both want it, and we should really get it, And when I think of these two, I'm like, well, if Joshua and White could fight each other before they became superstars, I can't see why these two can't. All right, but we'll see. We'll have to wait and see. So that's my list. That's all the fights that I had down. I hope you guys enjoyed the list. Didn't take much time for me to make the list because I already know in my mind what I want to see. Shout out to everyone that's left comments, donated to the channel, and everything, man. I see you guys left a lot of comments here. I'm sure you guys. Clarissa Shields against Savannah Marshall wasn't in my top 10, but I meant to add that to my other list there. That's definitely my number one desire female fight for sure. That's my number one female fight. Ubali versus Donaire. I would like to see that fight. Definitely not like a most desired fight, but yeah, I want to see that fight. What else we got here? Harrison is fighting this weekend. Jamel and Harrison 3. I think Jamel will beat him again. I wouldn't be mad at it. I kind of want to see Jamel versus Hurd and J-Rock still. Even though both of them lost, I still want to see that fight. Castaño holds the key to undisputed for Jamel, but for me, my fair fight for Jamel would be Tony Harrison 3. That's huge for me. Yeah. If people really want that fight, then. Yeah. I mean, the first fight was very debatable. I remember going there that night. A lot of people thought Jamel won. A lot of people thought Harrison won in the building. We know that Harrison is better at winning rounds, but he slows down. Shakur Stevenson versus Chris Colbert, absolutely. And I thought about Chris Colbert today. I just wish we need to get more push for him. All right? We definitely need to get more push for him. All right, what else are you guys saying? Yep. Shout out to my man on Punch Quote, Unrivaled Boxing Talk, Mr. Boxing Today, Kano Local Sports, all the other channels that joined, Boxingologist, OG, Lubin versus Rosario is going to be crazy. Are they scheduled to fight? That would be good if they are. Tyson versus Holyfield. Nah. I mean, yeah, I'm going to see it and watch it, but, it's not on no list for me. I want to see Boots versus Ortiz. Yep. That was already my number 6. All right, guys, I'm checking out, man. It was fun. I hope you guys enjoyed the enjoy the live. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. Follow me on IG. Follow me on Twitter at BoxingWave10. And I'll see you guys on the next one, man. Peace.